Good evening, y'all. This is Matthew Rives, and I'm here with my buddy Cory Toon, and he's helping me out with Social Work 620 and the Generalist practice questions. We'll start out with rapport building and using opening and closed-ended questions. We will start, and I will point out each as we go along. Um, so to start the role play, is good evening. It's good to see you, Core. I am here to just kind of check in on you, see how you're doing, and see how things are going with you, man. So tell me about what you were wanting to talk about this evening.
Yeah, things are going good. Had a lot of luck recently with Dice Alliance, which is really nice. It's as you know, it's the nonprofit I started back in 2020. Man, this year with everything that's been going on, I was just about to let it die, and you know, it's a labor of love to keep it going, but it's just been a hard year, and with all the stress of everything else I've got going on, coupled with trying to run the nonprofit, I was gonna let it go this year. I've turned everything over to the board. The board has been struggling, and instead of stepping in to bail it out, I was really considering just going ahead and calling the final board meeting and disbanding the nonprofit. So. But that didn't happen. So, things have turned around a little bit on the nonprofit front. So I'm really excited.
Pause. This is a chance to use a open-ended question and a uh, verbal furthering response as well as an empathetic response to come. We are still rapport building with the initial questions of how you're doing and um, telling them about what specifically it was the client wanted to talk about. When we unpause, I will ask a open-ended question to continue the conversation and dig deeper into the subject. So unpause. So I can not even imagine how tough it is running the day to day to a nonprofit. I've, seen what all you've went through, man, and just I could only imagine how rough it is. Like, tell me day to day what it is that you do as far as running the nonprofit and what y'all's goals are, what you are trying to accomplish.
Sure. So, um, Dice Alliance is a nonprofit. We focus on building social skills, intercommunication, or interpersonal communication abilities. We teach life skills. We teach math skills. We teach cooking skills. We try to really use gaming to build a bridge so that the kids have building blocks that they can then leap off of whenever it comes to learning various tasks. Um, the day to day of it, it never ends. We're always in search of funding. Um, you know, we've got a board, and we do our best to work together, but there's always new ideas, and sometimes the roadblocks there again is the funding and keeping things within the scope of our organization. We have some really good ideas thrown around sometimes, but sometimes things just don't make a lot of sense for us to do. We don't have enough funding to fund another nonprofit, right? To make donations to another nonprofit when we're trying to, get our own off the ground. Um, you know, we have a narrow focus of being able to bring the kids together. We do face-to-face interaction. So whenever we look into things like online gaming or things like that, that's not really within the scope of what Dice Alliance does. And so, there are lots of times where I have to, um, you know, stand firm, hold true to what our actual mission is. Not that we can't grow to those things in the future, but it's hard when people are passionate about a thing, and especially when you're passionate about the same thing, to stand there and tell people you got to pump the brakes. We can't do all these things that we want to do. I would love to be able to do, a literacy campaign. But the fact is, we can't afford books for 30 kids, right? We're not there. We can't afford that, and we can't afford to pay rent on the space that we use once a month to do the game. So you have to pick either or. And our mission is building the skills through gaming. And, we also feed the kids and do a cooking class. So, it gets expensive. Um, and then you have all the different personalities of the kids and the adults that we have, and so it's just it never ends. You think that you've cleared one hurdle, and then all of a sudden, another one comes up. So and so doesn't get along with someone else, so you got to change groups. Or we were planning on cooking, but the stove at the facility is down, so you've got to clear that hurdle. Or you know I don't know. It just never ends. I don't want to sit here and talk too negative about it, because it is a good thing, and it is a labor of love, but it definitely gets stressful.
You're good, brother. I like hearing about it, and we're going to pause right here because we're going to go into some active listening and verbal furthering responses to where Cory was going with the information he was sharing. Um, so here we go, unpause. Um, so tell me a little bit about you, the skills you were teaching to the kids. That sounds pretty interesting. Like, is it teaching them to cook, or how are you getting to that point where you're teaching them those skills?
So, Dungeons and Dragons specifically, and it's the game that we probably play the most of, is a narrative driven game. And what we do is, in the game, part of the narrative is that the characters that the kids are role playing as work for a tavern or an inn. And so, to be able to stay at this place, they have to help the innkeep or the shopkeep find ingredients for the meals that he sells then to the community. So, we'll start a scenario. We've got a list of ingredients the kids have to find, whether it's wheat or flour or eggs or, some kind of various meat. So they have to find these ingredients. And then at the end of the game, we bring in real world ingredients: eggs, flour, wheat, a roast, whatever. And we use those real world ingredients to cook the meal that was being prepared in the game that they had to go find the ingredients for. So what it does is it really gets them engaged in finding the ingredients, and then they have a lot of fun assembling those ingredients to make a meal that we get to enjoy as a community. And so it is a lot of cooking skills that we teach. Again, it's a lot of communication skills. A lot of kids don't have very solid, you know, face-to-face communication skills anymore. They spend a lot of time on the tablets. They spend a lot of time on the phone. They do a lot of stuff digitally. So sitting down, having to look someone in the eye and talk to them is difficult for these kids. So we build those skills. The D&D game itself is inherently heavily math-based, so it's a lot of basic math concepts. It's a lot of problem-solving skills and puzzle-solving skills. Um, and like I said, they don't even realize they're learning as they're doing it, and that's what makes it so much fun. And then you get to bring in that element, and like one of my favorite things we did was we made homemade yeast rolls, and they found the ingredients for it. It's very simple. It's 6 ingredients on the list total, and we made them. And then at the end, we discussed that you know with those ingredients, the total value is about $10. So if they can gather together $10, they can then sell those rolls and actually make a profit within their communities, right? And we had two or three kids that actually took that and ran with it. And they didn't make a lot of money, but they made enough money that, over the summer they used it as a side hustle, just selling rolls in their neighborhood,
That's
making
awesome.
hot yeast rolls. And it was a great feeling because you gave these kids a purpose and a way to contribute that was positive. And and then the adults in the community that aren't even a part of Dice Alliance were in support of those kids because they were seeing a level of personal ownership that that kid had over their own finances. I want XYZ. I can sell these roles to get that. Um, and the community embraced it, and they embraced the hard work and they embraced all those things. And so you know, that's what makes it worth it. Whenever we do that, it's the same way whenever, we have some of these kids that come to us and they're timid and they don't speak up and they're very shy, and then by the end of it, they're leading a table of friends in an adventure, and then that bleeds over into the real world, and you see them at school, and you see them out in public, and they've blossomed socially, because they have the confidence to speak up, and they know that people will hear them and listen to them, and they actually are intelligent, and people do care about what they're saying. And so those are the things that make what we do at Dice Alliance worth it.
That's awesome, man. And just to kind of circle back, uh, you know, the work you're doing with these kiddos with teaching them these independent living skills and just giving them that basic, you know, I can do this, building that confidence and helping them learn these basic skills that we might take for granted as adults. That means the world to the kiddos. So
I mean, it changes their stars. A lot of them don't have anybody that is in their corner in that way. A lot of them come to us and unfortunately they think that they're stuck in a situation, whatever that situation may be, and we have some hard situations that some of our kids are going through. Um, but they feel like they're stuck, and a lot of times they're told they're going to be stuck. They're going to end up right where mom is or dad is, and they're not any better. And and I grew up that way, as you know. So for me to be like, hey, listen, kid, you may not feel like you got anybody in your corner, but whatever you need, like, come to me and I'll facilitate it, whatever it is. um you know
it
so
gives those kids that catalyst to break the generational cycle and
yeah,
to, you know, come out like you have and come out on the other side doing good for other people. And
yeah.
that's something that, you know, is amazing. So, uh, we will wrap up at this point. I do want to fill in a blank that I missed at the beginning as far as rapport building and an open-ended or closed-ended rather question. Um, Cory and I have been friends for over 20 years, so the rapport building kind of fell by the wayside. But my example of a closed ended question actually had to do with his shirt and pointing out, as he mentioned, one of his hobbies is playing different role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. And I was going to ask about his shirt. Like, hey, man, I like your shirt. I think that's a pretty cool symbol. Is that a die? And, does Dice Alliance, does that have something to do with Dungeons and Dragons? And that would spurn off the conversation that we had, uh, turning a closed ended question into an open ended question. So I'm going to wrap up the recording. Cory, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for helping me out with this. Who knows? Future assignments, we may see Cory and me again on the screen. All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey, man. Love you, man.